And that brings us to January 6th. I've never seen a situation more underplayed for political effect in all my years doing this job. And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Protests, as opposed to terrorism, ended when they broke through that gate.
Terrorism is a strong word, Counselor, don't you think? I mean, let's stipulate for the point of this conversation, Chris, that they went through the private. Look, I let you make your points. Let the rejoinders happen, and then you can go.
Sure, sure.
You got counsel with you. You're safe, I promise. The idea that they broke the law, I give it to you. They went through a private gate. I'm sure you have video of it, or somebody can prove that. I stipulate they went through the gate. But they're yelling, they're angry. You got more than 660 defendants charged. And one of the toughest felony sentences yet goes to the face of the absurdity of that day. The QAnon Shaman, Jacob Chansley. Yeah, that's him. The judge who handed down the 41-month, it's 3+ year sentence, said, for good or bad, he made himself the very image of this whole event. He's actually a good face for it, if you think about it. The ridiculousness, the misplaced sense of patriotism, with the red, white, and blue, whatever he was going for there, the horns on his head. Chansley was one of the first 30 rioters inside the Capitol. But, if you subtract the time served, he's out by summer 2024. With me now is Chansley's attorney, Al Watkins. Counselor, welcome back to Primetime.
How do you do? A pleasure.
The sentence was for the offense of disrupting an official proceeding. Do you agree with that?
Obstruction, yes. Felony.
And in terms of the sentence, the only real issue is whether or not you believe that your client is competent, meaning that it's not mental illness that made him do this. What is your position on that?
No, this is not a competency issue. It's not a guilt issue. My client pled guilty. A court conducted and ordered a forensic psych exam. The determination was that, yes, indeed, my client had a very significant and long-standing mental health vulnerability, but was competent, just like the military in 2006 diagnosed my client with that same significant, lifelong mental health disorder. Only in 2006, their issue was, is he fit for duty?
Right.
And in 2006, they didn't tell my client about that vulnerability, that disorder. My client had a 15-year window where he could have gotten treatment, he could have gotten counseling, he could have gotten assistance dealing with that disorder. But with mental health, we treat that like we need to shroud it in secrecy, right. And it's not right.
There's definitely a stigma, and you say that is part of the recipe that made him vulnerable to the entreaties of Trump and others about January 6th. He's going to serve
No, I'm not saying that. Jake made a really, really important point in front of this court, and that was not only was he accountable, but he wanted to be held accountable. Jake made it clear, I made it clear to the court that indeed this was not about President Trump. This wasn't about whether he should be pardoned. This was about Jake holding himself accountable and doing so in a remarkably articulate and profoundly candid fashion that was recognized by the court as a matter of public record as being something that judge had never seen in 35 years. As a federal judge.
I mean, that could go just for the guy's outfit. He hadn't seen that in 35 years either. And
well,
also, look,
that should have given us both a clue.
Well,
a guy half nude.
Maybe, maybe not. All I'll say is this, though, Counselor. This is not where he's always been, your client. For a while, his story was, I wasn't doing anything in there. I was trying to stop people. I was trying to help. So it's good that he, eventually wanted to kind of own the reality. Now, my question to you is, do you believe that the accountability for these crimes and the behavior of that day needs to include the former president or not?
Oh, look, I said to everybody at the press conference the other day, my opinion isn't worth anything. That being said, if I'm asked for my opinion, I'm not shy about sharing it. There is no doubt about the fact that there is a duty and an obligation of our former president to belly up to the bar and say, hey, you know what? If I really do love them and I really do think they're beautiful people and I told them to do this, and maybe I should clean things up a little bit here.
Is that what you meant with your colorful language outside the court?
I will say that I would probably be far more effective over a beer with former President Trump. And I'd tell him, you know what? We got a few things to do. Somebody clearing this mess up and taking care of a lot of the jackasses that you up because of January 6th. Oh yeah, look, I come from a big old Italian family who grew up with a lot of coarse language. You may understand what I'm talking about here.
I'll throw you down these stairs like a punk. I'll wreck your shit. Stop. I'll wreck your shit. Stop.
It's time for us to really keep it simple. When somebody has a problem, it's really, really important to get your message out so it's understood. We've got a former president who's really screwed up a lot of people. I'm not saying anything about the political end of it, not my business, not my role. I'm an advocate. But you know what? You mess with people, you mess with their heads, and you put them in a position like that, you know what? You either buy them a beer or own it that you screwed it up. In the case of Jacob and in the case of others, there is a calming effect, albeit not one that's healthy for someone with mental health disorders. There's a calming effect about being alone, about being contemplative, introspective, and truly, with a guy who is disciplined like Jake, able to say, you know what, I need to extricate myself. I need to pull myself up out of this muck and mire, and I need to own what I did. And Jake is not an example to be made of by the government. Jake truly serves as an example for others.
Well, I think he's going to be both, right? Because the flamboyance, the brazenness of how he went in there is something that the American government wanted to make very clear will not stand. And now,
there's no doubt about it, but that American government is the same government that did not tell Jake in 2006 that he had a disorder. You know what? We can talk about the brazenness of Jake. I can talk about it. He's a gentle, loving, really smart man.
Hey, he also walked with a huge spear into the U.S. Capitol under bad pretenses with a group of people that were looking to stop Congress from doing its job.
A finial that would fall over if he tipped the spear down. But you're right, and my clients owned it.